have a list of tasks here, and each task has a specific time that it is due. And what I want to do is display the time in this list right here next to each task. So to do that, I'll go to my code here, and this is my view. And so I'm looping through the tasks and displaying the name. And what I want to do is display the due at column as well. So let's try that out. Tasks due at, let's display that. And we get this kind of ugly output, which is just outputting the time in the standard format, because due at here is a time object. And so what it's doing when we output it like this is calling toS on this to output it in the default format for the time. Now Rails actually adds a little bit to this toS method, so you can pass an argument to it. In this case, Rails allows you to pass long to it, and then it changes the format. You can pass short, you get a different format. There's even this DB one where it'll output it for the format for the database. But I don't want any of those, so I need to actually customize my own, make my own little time format however I want it to look. So to do that, I need to use a new method. It's called stringftime. And I always forget the characters to use for this format. So I'm going to open up the documentation here. You can type RI for the docs and take a look at stringftime. And you can see that it's for the date, time, and time classes, so you need to specify the time as well. So stringftime for the time class. And I get this whole list of characters that I can use inside of this method and to format the time I want properly. So let's try a few things. Let's do, let's say due at %b, %d on %i, %m, %p. Let's just say that. Okay, that looks pretty good. I want to stick with that. So we have our little time format here, and we could just leave it at this, but it can be kind of ugly because it's kind of long, and what if I want to use it multiple times in different views and so on. And sticking something like this in a helper method seems kind of awkward, especially if you have a lot of them, because it's only a one-liner. But what you can actually do is, you know, that toS method I showed you earlier, you can create your own different formats for that. Instead of doing long, short, or DB, you can create your own and give it a name. So I'll show you how to do that. Let's go back to that toS method. And let's create our own. So let's call it due time. And you actually need to load this before the rest of the application loads and gets requests, so you need to put it inside of the environment file. And you can stick it at the bottom right here. And it's actually stored inside of the time date formats. It's a hash inside of here. The key is the name of the format, and the value is a string representing the format. So we can just add to this hash whatever we want. So in this case, due time, and we want it to be equal to that string here. Okay, and since we changed our environment file, we have to restart our development server here. And now let's take a look at our view. And you can see it still works. And it's quite a bit cleaner because all we're doing is using this toS string. And so you can create as many of these as you want. If you get a lot of them, you might want to put it in its own file in the lib directory and load that here so you don't clutter up the environment file. So that's how you can format different dates and times. Oh, I should mention that the date class behaves the same way. So you have if you have a date, you can use stringftime or this date formats hash, and you can supply your own formats that way too. Well, RailsConf is just a few days away. I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys. So if you see me in my RailsCast t-shirt, feel free to stop and say hi.